Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome back to our Subscriber Game Tournament Season 2 as we continue with our Group 2 matchup here in Round 2 between White Cloud Hermit in the green versus EcstaticKnight in the red. And for this one, White Cloud Hermit is going to be on the defensive side, while EcstaticKnight takes the offense. And taking a look at their drafts, we have Huang Fusong, Guo Jia, and Yan Baihu for White Cloud Hermit. An interesting mix of units. We have 2 of the Imperial Sword Guard, 1 of the Imperial Crossbowmen, and 1 Unbreakable Defender of Earth. Now, Unbreakable units are great for defense because the city streets are very narrow, and you're able to hold those streets very well with just 1 Unbreakable unit. Then supporting them, we have 2 Crossbowmen from Guo Jia, and a bunch of Invisible Bandit unit on Yan Baihu. Or at least he's trying to have them as invisible. Unfortunately, the other side also have Guo Jia. But Yan Baihu is hiding in the 3rd position, which is great. There is a White Tiger Raider, which has poison arrows. We have 2 of the Ye Remnant Warriors, which are decent offensive unit with decent armor as well. They're very well balanced. And finally, 2 Banded Raiders. Now we are playing on extreme unit size here, so it's going to be the 60 unit per cavalry and 240 per infantry. And this is because I didn't really specify what unit size to use, but I think large probably would have been better for this. This is not going to make such a big difference, but definitely more of a difference on siege battle maps than open field maps, because the city streets doesn't get any wider when your units double in size, so it could lead to some congestion inside. But if they play both rounds with this same unit size, it should be fine since they do get to alternate side. So whatever advantage one side might have inside or outside of a city, it will be replicated for the second match. Now looking at EcstaticKnight, we have Xu Huang, Guo Jia, and Ma Chao. And looking at the units, we have a pretty interesting mix of all sorts of units. You have your Northern Sword Guard, you have a Pearl Dragon, 2 Qingzhou units, and then 2 more Northern Spearmen. What is lacking here seems to be a turtle formation user, although I'm not sure if the Northern Veteran Spearmen can turtle. I think they can, but I could be wrong. And then we have Guo Jia with a Trebuchet, nicely ranked up to 8 for more accuracy. And then we have an Onyx Dragon, actually 2 Onyx Dragon, 1 in the 2nd position, 1 in the 5th. And then a crossbow and an archer unit, all mixed in. It's a very interesting mix. And then we have Ma Chao closing up the rank with 2 of his Qiang shock cavalry, which, will not fatigue, but I don't know if they'll be very useful in a siege map. Cavalry's not known to be very good against walls, but I could be wrong. So let's hop into here and see how the deployment for the battle goes and see how EcstaticKnight approaches this offensive attack. So taking a look at the map, this is actually kind of crazy. So it's spread out around the corner of the map here, which I think it's a bad choice just because how closely the towers will overlap to provide coverage, and also the bastions that are available for the siege weapon for the defense. So rather than approaching it from the side closer to the moat, we are taking a rather different approach. So the siege weapons, the ram and the siege tower, are separate from the main force where the trebuchet is located. And there's also 1 unit of the Northern Veteran Saber Infantry here who has turtle. My mistake. So not only do the Northern Veteran Spears have turtle, but even the Saber has turtle as well. So the big shield provides turtle formation for, blocking the enemy towers. But what about these, Bastion siege weapons? That's going to be pretty deadly against the unit, especially if you turtle up. Most Bastion siege weapons are very, very accurate. There's no exact rank on them, but they hit really accurately. And then we have a actual defense, crossbowmen mounted. Now this is a wasteful deployment. You could hold down shift, I believe, and then drag them so that they are only on one side, which, prevents your other group of crossbowmen to be wasted on the other side shooting at nothing, essentially. And we have a similar situation here with the White Tiger Raiders. They're not being used in ambush because he sees the enemy has Guojia. The ordering matters a lot less because deployment's visible for both sides. There's the other multi-bolt crossbow. We have some more crossbowmen here defending on this side. Now because there's Guojia on both sides, there's no point hiding in the forest either. They see you. That's why these crossbowmen are here. That's why the cavalry is here to answer. And no one's actually on the plaza. Interesting. We got a couple units blocking the streets. It looks like no barricades were taken, which I think it's okay. It stops some of the fire spread, and also it makes maneuvering of your own troops pulling back into retreat a little bit easier as well. If you're going for such a spread out attack, I recommend to spread out on opposite corners of the map, which makes your opponent have a much harder time to join their forces. Here, this type of spreading out is rather pointless, and you're basically giving your opponent the option of which group to attack first while still able to cover the inside of the other areas, even if you should overwhelm the defender they placed there, because it's just so close together. If you attack from this piece of the wall and this piece of the wall, even though your forces are close together, the defender's forces are actually extremely far away from each other. If he has a group of force here, to reach this wall, it's such a long distance. There's no way they can help each other. But your forces are much more flexible in how you switch positions, and also there won't be any bastions to have the siege weapon attack you. So I feel like this offensive deployment is already kind of doomed. Or maybe not doomed, but could be done in a much more efficient manner by using the same exact setup with 2 points of attack, with the trebuchets crashing into the walls on this side, while the rams attack the gates on this side. But obviously, this is not the case, and we'll see how this one actually play out. We'll start out in bird's eye view, just so that we have a good read on the whole situation. Yanbaihu is actively being deployed out. Defense have the last say in deployment, or at least they should. Since you should never rush, you should let your opponents finish their deployment, hit start, you go after. And he will be targeting these units here, as he has placed no real unit on the wall. There is one reinforcement Imperial Sword Guard, but I don't think you want to stray too far away from your other Imperial unit, or else you lose the Imperial Solidarity passive as well. So we'll see how that goes. And let's go. So I assume this thing is going to start destroying siege towers. Yanbaihu's not moving. We got the fire archers trading a bit of their health for the towers, which is fine. The siege weapons are going at each other. They have abandoned the siege weapons right away and moved into a formation. Why? I mean, they see Yanbaihu, but still. The crossbows are at a really weird angle, and they have started to waver. I think they got shot a little bit by these fire arrows. Yep. Yanbaihu has moved up. He's probably moved too close to get a good poison volley off. Oh, never mind. He still got it. Should have never doubted him. So I think all three units got scratched, which is all he needs to do. He can pull back. You get more bang for the buck with your poison on extreme unit size, since it's per entity. So the more entity you have, the more quote-unquote damage. Ratio-wise, you're still doing the same. You're just going to pull a bigger number because it's going to be inflated. So while one of these bandit raiders did get crushed, I think luring them in to such a dense tower setup will probably injure these tail marauders quite decently. We also have the crossbow. Yanbaihu's moving in to harass the two Onyx Dragon, which seems to be unprotected. The fact that they had turtle units but didn't choose to use them to tank the towers is interesting. I mean, there is a siege weapon. There's also a crossbow that will shoot back, but it's still an interesting choice. Guojia's getting a little eager here in melee, but I guess they don't have to be too afraid. They're filtering in right now. The cavalry's coming in. Guojia might not get out here. I would actually just focus on Guojia here. It's hard to kill off these two sentinels, but Guojia can be picked off quite easily. Ooh. And we got ourselves another 2 volleys from the poison, which is good. A lot of unit got touched. And Guojia pulled out no problem. They took a bit of chunk. We're talking about 80k health on extreme, so we lost 24k here and 20k here, so that's still a decent chunk of damage taken. There is still 1 Onyx Dragon left. The Trebuchet is being used to break walls. Yeah, I'm not sure if these are the right choices. Like, there was the showing to use these siege weapons, and then quickly abandon that as these units got poisoned, and then, you know, continuously hit by this Trebuchet at the same time. Meanwhile, the main point attack is still using the Trebuchet, which, if you use all the ammo on the wall, you're basically paying for a very expensive unit that's only opening a path that could be done with these. They need to hit units to get real value out. These cavalries are going to come in for another harassment. I believe these, you know, Onyx Dragons are probably dead regardless, because the crossbow sitting pretty on the wall is going to be able to return more fire. They're trying to cut off these groups from rejoining the main army, although I think it would be a waste of... I think this is a waste of poison volley just to get that 1 unit. Well, he's pulling his tactical retreat to get a little bit of a speed boost so they can get out. And I think they'll get out fine. There's still enough towers left to dissuade any real pursuits. Like I said, Guojia's the easiest one to keep. Let's see if they can keep them here. But as you can see, so much resources have been spent. They have dived at the 2 Onyx Dragons. There's still the archers that can provide fire arrow, but the Trebuchet I think is doomed, as well as these 2 Bandit Raiders are going to trade their life for that. Having these little boxes, visually pleasing, but actually doesn't do anything. Better off just line them up around your Trebuchet. And this show right here, I don't think did anything. If you want to argue that it forced them to produce the Trebuchet on this side and not here, maybe I give you that. But even then, it's like you don't need to invest this much to get them to basically misplay their Trebuchet. And it's not even a misplay because the Trebuchet got damage back. Alright, they finally can clear out the cavalry, but there's still so much in the city. It's still close. I think some of these units are still decently healthy. The scary unit obviously will be the 2 Imperial unit inside, but both Xu Huang and Ma Chao have Flame of the Phoenix. And that's pretty effective against, you know, cluster of infantry. So that really shouldn't be a problem. What they really need to do is somehow... Ooh, he's gonna shoot here. Oh my god. Even though that's 1 shot, it's fine. Oh, friendly fire, friendly fire. It's fine because he poisoned everyone. That was the goal. We don't need to hit all 4. It's not as much damage, but he did get self-inflicted damage onto Yan Baihu when Huang Fusong unleashed. And Yan Baihu looks like he's about to go down. And both sides are trading arrow fires here. Okay, I guess Yan Baihu lives for another volley. And these crossbows are just dissuading the chase. But for generals, I don't think you care. Most of these shots are going to miss. You're helping waste ammo. And each individual shot's not going to hurt that much. If you can bring down Yan Baihu, I think that's a great deal. So let's see what's left. That poison crushed the last archer unit. So officially there's no fire left. They still have this Bandit Raider that bounced back after routing off. Which is the beauty of a lot of these cavalry units. You get beat, so you rout a little, and then you gather up far away and you're ready for combat again. So I would actually just chase this archer instead of going after this Qingzhou unit. I mean, Qingzhou units are scary when they bounce back if they get another misplaced devotion most likely, but this is the only source of fire left if they can kind of guarantee it, because it's kind of 0 morale. You don't know if it's going to bounce back or not. There'll be no more fire. So who's going to take these towers? And recognizing this, you know, we have White Cloud Hermit just piling his units out into an offensive fight because he'll have the cover of all these towers if he fights right here. And it really doesn't give EcstaticKnight any options. He has a much smaller force now on offense despite coming in with more money. Obviously a lot of chunk of that money is spent on trebuchets, but I would say a lot of units just got ruined. Like the 3 unit placed over here never really joined the fight, weren't protected. You know, leaving your unit alone is never a good idea. Okay, we're turtling up. Or actually, this is a wall. This is not a turtle. It's very pretty. Look how fast they adjust to let the generals ride by. Now, there could be an attempt to maybe try to sneak a general in and dive for the center because it's so unprotected. And that can force them into a bad situation. So using that strategy, it's going to have to be Xu Huang who can do that job. Essentially, you occupy their force here and just slip in. It's still a 200-second countdown, I believe. But, actually 150-second countdown. But it's still probably the only chance that EcstaticKnight has here is maybe draw the forces back to force everything into an engagement. And since there's no cavalry left for this unit, if they can occupy the generals, I mean, even if they don't occupy the generals, Xu Huang's probably strong enough 1v1 to fight off a half-health Yan Baihu and a decently weak Huang Fusong at this point. I would go for that right now. I think the infantry will take longer than 150 seconds to run back. Of course, they could start running back the second you start breaching, but you gotta try something at this point. Fighting this on the field is a losing recipe. So they could just force a push. They have so many more range unit that they can just out-trade, and they can just keep shoving into you and shoot you, basically. Where you can't do much. Yanbai, who might be out of poison volleys. I think there was one used there, one used at a single unit here, one used over there. Maybe he has one shot left? That might be it. And now there's like not real openings for this unit. But the threat of them just being behind makes you kind of deploy a unit, you know, in the backside. I would go for the capture. This is the only win condition left. Or they can just force a fight here where Ma Chao and Xu will go in and just start slamming. Right, they're going to outshoot you. It's also a range issue. Imperial Crossbow has a 30 extra range bonus. And by that time, they already killed a lot of your unit. Right, so if you want to win the general fight, that's also a possibility. Let's see if there's any dismount effort. Because Yanbai was already really low. It's tough to fight. Ooh, poison arrows. Didn't touch any of them though. No one got poisoned. And all the units are going to get shot. There is only one play. They have to go for the victory point. That's the beauty of siege battles. But I don't think they're going to take that play as they're just getting slowly cornered back. But I guess the farther you draw them away, the better shot you have. Because right now I think Xu Huang has more combined health. Or close enough. They have 80k together. He has 73. And he's unbreakable. And both of them have morale issues. So if they're low enough, they might break. He should just go for it. Go. Go. I mean, pulling it back is a good decision, just to bait them farther. No, that's not the right line. That's the right line. Ah, no, he doesn't see it. You think he has to fight them. I mean, technically, sure, there's another win condition where you kill them, like, cleanly, where Ma Chao doesn't get too injured. And then if you could kill them, then potentially you can start slamming them slowly, but it's a much harder gamble. And that's gonna be some damage done. Crossbows hurt. Poison arrows are coming down. Are they poisoned yet? Yep. That's the problem. Ma Chao just charged into a bunch of arrows and just died. And the poison shot as well kills the evasions. That was just the suicidal charge. Now the Wisdom River is activated. They traded Yan Bai Hu, but like, this is just a tougher fight. You're fighting with all these things here. I mean, now the Imperial units are here. You're dismounted to try to kill the general faster, but let's say you kill him. What happens when you try to remount and all these Imperial Sword Guard are right on top of you? Good timing on the slam, but I don't think it's going to make any difference. Yep. Imperial Sword Guard's like, I'm going to finish this. This is not an action movie. That was the goal. Because these towers, although they overlap large amounts of the square, not the entire square. There is this part right here you can stand on, and you don't even get bothered by it. Once you capture it, it's by capture weight. So if the only thing can run back with you is another general, they can't recapture it until they kill you. So you just dismount, stand here, let them show up, and you can beat them. I think Xu Huang can beat both Huang Fusong and Yan Bai Hu in a fight, and they're the only unit who could get back. That was the win condition. Charging in to fight directly in front of crossbowmen. That's not the play. Those armor piercing damage gonna destroy Ma Chao, who has 80% armor. Oh, body block. Body block. He's pushing it. He's like, I can get across. There we go. He probably still has a Hail of Arrow on him. They are in turtle though. I mean, the big difference is EcstaticKnight not seeing that there is still a win condition left. And he basically fought his way into... He can't do anything to this. Is he gonna Hail Arrow this? Hail Arrow this? Pro Dragons. What? I'm gonna use my body to break their formation. I mean, they have the army loss kicked in already. It's not actually him. It's just the army loss. All right, let's take a look at the numbers, because I think the battle with the initial deployment was already kind of poor choice. If he was wanted, to spread out with two different threats, the location to do it would be against this side of the field, where you can force the enemy into a very uncomfortable, long distance, as long as possible to, cover both sides, while you have the shortest distance possible. Here, it's like you have a pretty long distance from here to here, and they can just kind of sit here in the middle and be able to respond. And the other cool thing about attacking from this side with your trebuchet is if the enemy general want to come out, they have to come out of this gate, and then to come back, they have to come out this gate. It's a lot less accessible compared to the gate here and also the gate here, but that's not the main problem of this battle. So looking at the actual damage figures, the range unit had a great time. Look at these Imperial crossbowmen with their superior range, destroying the shorter range units. The two Bandit Raider Cavalry did great. Cheap cost, extremely good value. And the Trebuchet. 2 walls broken, 38 units killed, and that's it. And the archers didn't do much better either. The 2 Onyx Dragons were not really protected. I think this is from exchanging fire with the crossbow unit on the wall. You see that he managed to kill a few, but most of them did well. I think they just couldn't really match up. The infantry were in their pretty formations, a couple of them. The other that were with the siege weapon were quickly, disbanded. They didn't go for that attack. I don't understand. If you weren't going to commit to that attack, why even place them on that side in the beginning? And that kind of sums up the battle, as the generals fought pretty close, I think. You got to consider Ma Chao died because he charged into crossbow, so it was not really a general fight situation. The general fight is pretty balanced. Yan Baihu and Huang Fusong are not that strong of a general. They have their volley abilities. Xu Huang and Ma Chao technically are a lot stronger. They also have Flame the Phoenix ability. So I would say it's pretty balanced in terms of general strength. It just came down to how the units were being placed and how the units were being used that determined the outcome. But this is only the first match of this matchup, as they will now switch sides, and we'll see if EcstaticKnight can tie the series and force both of them to enter round 3, or will White Cloud Hermit take the sweep and advance directly into the top 8? And we'll find out next. So until then, bye!